thank you so much for spending a little part of your day today talking with me about simple asset tracking, something I'm very excited about. This came out of I had a client a couple years ago who wanted to be able to look at a user's record and see everything that was assigned to that user just at a glance. And so we created this piece of functionality for them. And I thought it was something that should be shared around because it's nice and simple and it gets the job done. So let's move forward. Okay, so I'm here representing Cerna Solutions. That is the group that I work with. We are a small ServiceNow consulting firm. One thing I like about working with a small group like this is that we all get to wear a lot of hats, and so we learn a lot as we're doing all these different projects. But then also we have the freedom to come up with some creative solutions to some of your problems, and you know, we don't have to always apply the out-of-the-box boring solution. We can come up with some creative, interesting things. So that is something that we focus on, is being creative and unusual and thoughtful in our solutions. My name is Carrie Padian. I'm a senior technical consultant with Cerna. I've spent about 20 years in IT, a lot of it with help desk, some change management, things like that. So I've spent a lot of time among the people who would actually be using your ServiceNow solution. And because of that, you know, I've seen a lot of implementations that go really well and a lot that have problems. And so I've learned from that and have moved forward with that information and helps me guide the solutions that I come up with. So got ITIL certification, system admin, implementation specialist certification, and yes, I am a total process nerd. So if you have some idea about a better way to do something or a simpler way to do something or just a more clever way to do something, I want to hear about it. I'm very excited about things like that. So please do share that with me. You'll see my email address here. Feel free to copy it down, and please do reach out if you have any questions or anything else that you want to talk about as regards simple asset tracking. Here's our agenda. We're going to do the intro, which is what we're doing right now. We're going to move on to the benefits of asset tracking. Why would you bother to do any of this at all? We're going to talk about the traditional asset tracking and what might be involved in doing all of that, the asset tracking effort, and then whether or not you're ready. Sometimes you have to evaluate whether your organization is actually ready to take that step and do a whole asset tracking piece, and sometimes you want just a simpler piece, the simple asset tracking, which is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the benefits of just going in a simple direction with simple asset tracking. And we will deal with a few real-world scenarios. I'll show you the components of the simple asset tracking piece so that you can implement them in your own instances. And then we'll talk a little bit about what might be possible, what you can take from this and move forward and maybe improve upon the simple asset tracking piece. And then we'll talk about how you can take the simple asset tracking and integrate it into traditional asset tracking. You know, simple asset tracking can be the end of it, but it doesn't have to be. You can always take this information and put it into your traditional asset tracking when you're ready. Some of the benefits of asset tracking. Why would you bother to do this in the first place? One of the biggest ones is you want to know what stuff do we have? You know, what did we buy? What computers do we have out there? What do we need to order more of? What do we have in the stockroom that's sitting there? So having some visibility into that is a really important part of the asset tracking. Where is everything? Who is assigned to all of these pieces of equipment? The money part. So how much do we spend on this stuff? Is there a cheaper alternative that we can use to cover this need? Are we spending way too much on these laptops? Do we need to buy a different kind of laptop? Our department's spending money on laptops that we didn't authorize, things like that. Compliance is always a big piece. So you have auditors looking into your processes and trying to figure out what choices you made and whether they were within regulations. You have license auditors looking at your software licenses. You want to make sure that only the people that have licenses, are using that software. So that's important for asset tracking. You can create more accurate forecasts with your asset tracking information. So you can look at what have we done so far, what can we predict will happen in the future if we if we changed this new piece of equipment, etc. You can plan for when you're going to refresh all of your laptops because they're going to be out of warranty, that kind of thing. You can identify bring your own devices that are on your system. So a lot of asset tracking pieces will have something that will go out on your network and take a look at all of the things that are connected to your network, and they will let you know what kind of BYODs are on your network, and so that you can plan to accommodate those particular BYODs. So say a bunch of people are bringing in iPhones, then you can make sure that your network will accommodate those iPhones. Things like that. It will help you control loss and theft. So if you have visibility into your assets, then you can see, hey, wait a minute, we seem to be losing a bunch of laptops in this particular location. That's not a good thing. Or maybe laptops are getting stolen from this particular area, and we need to beef up security, things like that. And then a lot of times asset tracking is used for onboarding and offboarding. So you can plan for onboarding. So you can automate what you're going to send out to a new employee, but then also with offboarding, you can see what everybody has and go and take it back from them. And so that's a good piece of asset tracking as well. All of those things are very helpful and important, but then why maybe would somebody not want to implement the whole asset management piece? Well, the fact of the matter is that it takes a lot to implement traditional asset management. It takes a lot of resources, it takes a lot of time. There are some big jobs involved. So the first thing you would have to do is identify all of your assets. So you might use Discovery. ServiceNow makes a great tool called Discovery for that, where you can plug it into your network, and it will go out and find all of the assets on your network and report back. And so you would have that information. Or if you had a smaller organization, you might do like a desk-to-desk kind of thing, send people out to take down that information and write down what computers everyone has. But that's a task that you would have to undertake. You would have to have people do. So that's definitely going to take you some time. Then once you have all that data, sometimes you have to clean it up. So sometimes you have to look at the data that came back from Discovery and make sure that all of the information is correct. You have to look at the spreadsheets that were collected, maybe when somebody went desk to desk. A lot of times you'll have departments that kind of do their own asset tracking, like in a spreadsheet, so you have to like take that, put those together. And so then a person has to sit down and look at that and make sure that, okay, everyone's writing out the model the same way, everything is spelled correctly, everything is in the right column, etc. So you have to take the time to clean up that data and make sure that it's going to be loaded correctly. Okay, another thing you have to do is you have to make some decisions. So you have to figure out, how are we going to structure this asset management solution? What categories are we going to use? What models do we need to use? How are we going to put everything into its correct buckets? And unfortunately, when you have to make a lot of decisions, especially if you have to get a lot of different people involved, that can be a really time-consuming, challenging process. The more people that get involved, the more people have opinions. So the more challenging it becomes. So that could be a big part of this asset management piece. It's just everyone having ideas about how it should be done and how do you decide who is right. And then once you finally have everything in place, you have to manage all of those assets. So you have to assign somebody to pay attention to all of the assets and make sure that they continue to stay updated. You have to determine what kind of processes you're going to use to make sure that when someone gets a new computer, that it gets put into your system, etc. So you have to make a lot of decisions surrounding how you're going to manage this solution as well. And so what do you do if you look at all of this and you're like, yeah, that's a great idea to have that traditional asset tracking, but we're just not ready. We're a small organization, or we just don't have the resources right now to apply to that. And so what you might do is apply this simple asset tracking piece that we're about to talk about. So some of the benefits of using the simple asset tracking, you get a lot of the same functionality that you would get with traditional asset tracking, but it's just, as you might imagine, simpler. So you will get the automatic assignment of assets. So when someone requests something through your service catalog, you will automatically get a piece that puts that record in their user record, and you'll be able to see that they have this particular piece of equipment. You get pre-normalized data, so you don't have to spend the time looking at the spreadsheet and making sure that everything is listed correctly. The data is populated from when people request things to your service catalog, and so it's all going to be the same as it goes into the system. You get to know at a glance who has what pieces of equipment. So that's really valuable. You can look at your list and see what equipment is out there and who has it. You get to report based on the equipment that you have assigned. You get to easily recover your assets during offboarding. You can look at someone's account, see what they have, and go get it. And then last but not least, certainly not least, you get a tool that is simple and easy to use. And that's really important because traditional asset management can be kind of complicated. And say your asset manager were to leave tomorrow and you had to hire someone else to get in there and manage it, you don't want to have to take a long time to get up to speed. So a simple tool can always be a benefit. But you don't get everything that you would get with traditional asset tracking. You just get most things. So some of the things you don't get, there are some stockroom management functionality built into ServiceNow traditional asset tracking. You don't get the neat software license tracking pieces that you normally get with software asset management with ServiceNow. And you don't get some of the cost management and budgeting features. There are probably other things that would fill that list that you don't get. So definitely it's worth it to weigh both options, the way the simple asset tracking and the traditional asset tracking. And if the traditional asset tracking has all the functionality that you need, then maybe it's worth it to take that effort and actually move towards traditional rather than simple. But if you're not ready to do that, let's talk about what simple asset tracking actually means. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up a demo instance here so that you can see. This is just my particular demo instance. So basically, the components of simple asset tracking, they start with the user account. So if we actually look at the user record here, I'm just going to go to one particular user. This is just a test user that I created. So we've got our test user, and you'll see down at the bottom quickly, we've got our three tabs here, assigned hardware items, assigned software items, and assigned access items. Now this is just this particular client who wanted these three pieces. So the hardware obviously is the equipment that is assigned to the person, the software would be the software that's installed on that particular piece of equipment. And then the access items would be like accounts that they had to create for that person. So those are the three. Certainly, if you decide you want to track something else, you would just add another custom table and start to track that. So there are a couple of different ways to populate this information. So for one, you could just click here and create a new record. So if you were issuing a new laptop to somebody and you just wanted to create a new record manually, you could totally do that. You could put the user's name in there, get your asset tag and serial number. If there was a request that was related to that, you could pull it up and select that request. And then you would put in the particular model. So if you had an Apple something or other, you would just select that model. And so you create that record. Another way that you could populate this is if you had a spreadsheet where you had gone through and made sure that you had the columns that fit with these particular pieces of information. So you had a user column, you had the asset tag column, serial number, etc. Make sure all of that lines up with this data. You can load a spreadsheet in, and that would populate these records for you. The last way that you can populate these are, like I said, from the requests, so from your service catalog. So let's actually go through that. And say this person has decided that he wants to order another laptop. And so this user, and let's give them a location. That's fine. And so they're going to order the laptop. Oh, it's taking a second. There we go. Okay, so let's move this request along. Looks like it skipped over approvals, which, good for them. Looks like we've got the fulfillment piece. So we can put in the asset tag and serial number right here, just because that's the part of the request that we built in. So anyway, I made up some things there. So we're going to order, configure, and ship that equipment. Once we do that, we're going to close complete this task. And then we can go look at that test user, and we'll see that now that test user has this particular piece of equipment assigned. And so now they've got these 2 laptops. Okay, so what are the ways in which you can use this to your advantage? So one of the nice things that you can do is to see when someone got a new piece of equipment. So say this guy comes back tomorrow and says, wait a minute, I want also an iMac or something. You know, I want some other new laptop. You can come into his account and take a look and see, wait a minute, we just issued you a MacBook Pro yesterday or last week or last month. So you can see that they were just issued a new laptop, and you can say, hold on, wait a minute, and have a discussion with them or the manager about why they need to have all this new equipment. Another thing you can do is assign particular refresh dates to certain types of laptops. So say you bought a bunch of these 13-inch MacBook Pros, and they're all going to be out of warranty in 3 years. If you go into the model itself, you can add a refresh date, so that will be the date that you can then set up a rule to check automatically if you wanted to, or you can come in and check manually and just see, okay, for the 13-inch MacBook Pro, well, this date's, you know, in the past. But if you had a date in the future, you could say, okay, well, this is going to be eligible for refresh in a couple of years, so you're going to have to hold on to that one for now. Okay, so other things that you can do with this, you can report unassigned assets. And so one of the ways that you would do that is to say, let's go to all of the hardware assets here. This is obviously a small organization. They don't have a ton of computers out there, but if they want to just kind of see how the breakdown is as far as particular piece of equipment, you can just right-click on Model and go to Bar Chart. And it will make you a little chart and tell you which things you're using more of. So it looks like right now we've got a lot of 13-inch MacBooks out there, and so that's fine. If, you know, maybe that's your business's choice. But what if you have a bunch of iMacs? If you're trying to get people to use iMacs, or if you have, for some reason, a surplus of 15-inch MacBooks, then you could use this and say, well, wait a minute, why do we keep pushing the 13-inch? Let's see if we can kind of get some people to use these ones that we already have instead of buying new 13-inch ones. Or something like that. You can just use that information. Also, as you normally can in ServiceNow in a report, if you want to click on and see who exactly has these particular pieces of equipment, just click on the bar and it'll show you, okay, these 3 users have those MacBooks. And you can do that with each of those bars. So that's one way that you can report them out. Another thing that you can do is verify compliance. So say you have a site license for Adobe Acrobat Pro. Say it only has, for some reason, 3 licenses on it. And you want to see how many users you have that have Adobe Acrobat Pro. So you come over here, you group by item, and you see, oh no, we've got 5 users of Adobe Acrobat Pro. We've got to do something about this. So a couple of different things you can do here. First of all, you can see who created this record for this person. So you're assuming that whoever created the record is the person who installed it for them, if that's your process. And so then you can follow up with that person and say, hey, wait a minute, why did you install this when it, you know, we didn't have a license for it? Another thing you can do is sort the records by date to see, okay, well, then who are our 3 people that are licensed, and then who is left after that, and why did that happen? Another thing you can do is drill down into the request item and see who approved this for this person, because they shouldn't have done that. So if you click in there, they'll bring up the request item, and you can go in and look and see, oops, I approved it, so I'm in trouble. And you'll come talk to me and ask me, well, why did I do that? And then you could either get my department to buy a license for that person, or we'd remove it off of that person's computer. And then another thing that you can do that's really super helpful is to offboarding, just use it for offboarding. So say this test user person decided to leave the company, sadly, maybe because we wouldn't buy them a new laptop. You would just go to their user account, and you can see a list of everything that they have. So we know this person has 2 laptops that we need to get back from them. This person has 6 pieces of software that we are going to take back, and then we'll have those licenses that we can use again. And then this person has a Cognos account and a Workday account. So we need to go in and remove that Cognos account and remove that Workday account or disable it. And so you can use this kind of as a checklist of offboarding. Like, okay, you know, we gave this stuff, now we are taking back each one of them one by one. All right. So those are things that you can do with just the very simple, you know, 3 custom tables. There's actually, let me just show you the quick workflow piece. All you have to do to make it automatically create that record when you order it via your request item. Just pull it up real quickly. All you have to do is add in a little script at the end. So once you've fulfilled the request and they're getting their laptop, then this little script just runs. And all it does is it just goes in and does a glide record query and it creates the record. Sorry, it's not loading yet. Okay, does a glide record insert, and so it creates the record for you. Very simple, very straightforward. And that just runs as soon as you deliver the thing, and so then it's done. Super easy. So okay, let's go back to. So what else can you do with simple asset tracking? So once you have this little piece in place, you can take it and do more interesting things. So one of the things that I did for a client earlier this year is they wanted to automate the offboarding. So you saw on the screen where you had, like I said, you could use it as a checklist. And so what you could do then is create a rule that once you, the way I created it is once you uncheck the active box for that user, so you're making that user inactive, it kicks off a function that creates tasks for each of those pieces. So it created a task for the computers, created a task for each of the pieces of software, it created a task for each of those accounts that need to be removed. And then you just go through and you close off those tasks when you make sure they're assigned to the right people, and then they close them off when they're done, and then you know that someone has been offboarded properly. So that's a pretty easy thing to put together. You can set up email reporting on staff levels. So say you created a model and you wanted to just track on that model how many of those laptops you had. You could add a field with a number on that model and then set up a rule that would change that number based on how many of those assignment records were created. So every time an assignment record was created, it would just diminish that number by 1. And then you can set up an email report to let you know, okay, well, now we're out of this particular thing, or we're low on this particular thing. So you can set up, use ServiceNow functionality to extend that piece. Okay, we talked about this a little bit with the bar chart. You can reprioritize hardware offerings based on usage. So if people are ordering a ton of the 13-inch laptops, but you have this warehouse full of 15-inch laptops, and you want them to use the 15s, you can take note of that and then figure out some way to kind of push those 15s on people so that you're not having to buy more laptops. You can track software licenses. Now this gets to be a little tricky just because you can add some of this functionality to this simple asset tracking, but this might be a point where you want to think about, okay, does it make more sense for me to move on than to traditional asset tracking at this point? Because once you're kind of adding in all of the functionality ad hoc, then you might as well start moving towards the traditional asset tracking. But you can, with the software licenses, do the same kind of thing where you have a model for each piece of software, and you put a field on there that holds that number of how many licenses you have for that, and then just set up a rule that will diminish that number every time you create an assignment. So you could do that. You can also automate hardware refresh. So say you have all of those MacBook 13 inches, and in 3 years you want to refresh those laptops. You could go in and grab a list of everyone who has those laptops. You can send emails to all of those people and let them know, hey, we're coming to get your laptops. You can use that information to make that refresh easier. And then, I mean, that's just the beginning. So there are probably many ways that you can use this little simple piece and extend it and make it more functional for your organization. The point is that it's a place to start collecting that data, and then you can use your imagination and build rules and notifications and all sorts of other things that come out of that. Okay, so one thing that we said we would talk about is how to integrate this with traditional asset tracking. It's actually quite easy. If you think about it, we're starting to make a list with this with the simple asset tracking. We're starting to collect everything into a table. And so ServiceNow Asset Management has a ton of features that will help you organize this list now that you finally have a handle on it. So once you're ready to move to traditional asset tracking, you can take that list, you can load it into your traditional asset tracking tables. You can set up, even before you do this, you can set up a rule that will automatically create, like, say, a CMDB record when you assign an asset. So when that record is created, the assigned record is created, it'll also create a CMDB. Or you can say run discovery on your network and then use that list that you've created in your simple asset tracking and match it up against what discovery is coming back with, and just check to make sure that that data is correct. That is giving you the right information. Okay, well, we are at the point where we would do questions and answers. And I don't think that I see any questions or answers in the panel, so if you do have any questions, please do put them in the panel. So let me just quickly show you. We talked a little bit about the pieces in here. So we have just these three tables, and these were just custom tables that I created. And then I created the particular workflow. So just at the end of any workflow that you want to kind of collect that information, you would just add your little script, and then really you can go from there. I mean, it's that straightforward. It's that simple. You probably also want to add something on the other end of it. So like when you're doing your offboarding, let's say you did an automatic offboarding piece, which we created a workflow for that. You could add something on the other end that would delete those records. So something like that. Okay, we do have a question. So Lisa is asking, can I use this for server, hardware, and software and relate it to a business service? Yes and no. You can certainly relate it to a business service if you wanted to add something else to the record here. So say you wanted to relate software or access or something to a business service. You could go in and add another field here and just associate with a business service this way. But this isn't actually actively a part of CMDB. It's separate. So it's not currently set up to relate to business services. But it's modular. All you have to do is add the things that you want to relate to. But you can also do the thing that I was talking about before, where when this is created, it also creates a CMDB record, and then you can associate that CMDB record certainly very easily with the business service. You're welcome. Thank you so much for spending your time today talking to me about, or letting me talk anyway, letting me talk your ear off about simple asset tracking. I'm really passionate about it because I think it's a simple solution that can kind of help you get your foot in the door for asset tracking if you're just not ready for the big heavy lifting of traditional asset tracking. Please do contact us if you have any questions about this, or if you want to talk about any other projects or problems that you have that you want to create a solution to. We're happy to talk those over with you. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.